If you need a reference, Brad actually has the Deadwood mermaid tattooed on his chest. If you want to replicate that,
I will have you come pose, not maybe nude, but you know.
Oh, that's
be
waist
nude.
up.
That's how I got it.
Yeah, waist up.
There's no other way to get a tattoo than totally naked, right, Brad?
Yeah.
All right, here we go, boys. Marshall Matt Dillon, Miss Kitty.
Old school reference there.
Glad to see you here today. We are on another field trip. This is very exciting. Episode number 10. Who thought we'd make it this far?
Right.
Yeah, and here we are.
Right. So we are at one of your haunts, one of your very favorite places to
Absolutely.
go. Actually, our second place after Club 76, where we met with our good friend Jeremy Frericks. And he was nice enough to hosted us during a Chicago Cubs playoff game.
Yeah,
It was
A little bit different ambient noise situation today. Yeah.
But that was good.
Awesome trip.
So today we are at the Deadwood, which is one of the places you guys kind of talk about. Why is this place so special to you, John?
Yeah, well, I think we've talked about the Deadwood on all 9 episodes, so it's surprising it took us this long to get here. But to me, the Deadwood is just, one, it's one of the institutional bars that is still here from my time in college. A lot of things have cycled over. There's only a handful that remain. Deadwood's one of them. Just a great place, a great unique vibe. It's always been just a little different than any other place in Iowa City. So we've always enjoyed coming here. And the Tang bombs are legendary. We've been into those for many years. We'll talk about some of the other things. Hopefully we don't have too many appearances in the logbook, but can't guarantee we're not in there 1 or 2, but we'll explain that later. But I do think it's appropriate while we start the show off. We've drank Tang bombs on the pod before, but they weren't the authentic, handcrafted by Ben at the bar at the Deadwood. So I think Brad and I are just going to start off with a little cheers and an official Deadwood Tang bomb to kick us off this morning.
Look at the coloring on this.
You always say it's about the coloring. You said Ben has kind of this color palette. This it is kind of like a coffee. It's like an iced coffee. Mm-hmm. And John finished his before Brad, and usually
I was
Brad is very enthusiastic.
It's not a race.
An authentic Deadwood Tang bomb. Well, you guys are
nice vintage, nice.
Absolutely.
You'll be in Xanadu for the rest of the day.
Yeah.
All right, so hey, there's the voice of our guest. So John, why don't you introduce our guest today?
Yeah, well, happy to. Ben is the owner-manager of Deadwood. We'll ask him a little bit here in a minute, his history here. But he has been a longtime fixture behind the bar here, served us many a drinks, many a Tang bombs, and is always great for conversation, great for storytelling. And we wanted to hear the story of Deadwood, so we asked him if he would join us, and he was very generous to carve out a little time on a busy weekend to kick off and tell us a little bit about the history of Deadwood and his story.
Absolutely. Ben, welcome to the show.
Thank you guys for having me. It's my first podcast, so I'm excited. You guys have been staples here for a long time. The Tang bomb is always one of those things that just makes me smile because I couldn't really tell you the origin of it. I just know that it's never going to leave the Deadwood.
Was it here before you were here?
It was here before I was here.
Right.
For a while there, it was popular, and then for a hot minute, the only people that ever ordered it was like a rite of passage. If you were a new sports column employee, they would come over here and do a Tang bomb.
Okay.
And then it's kind of had its resurgence. And then, of course, I don't know if you guys have ever mentioned the legendary Terry, one of our regulars and friends, who, yes, he is the man who Tang bomb.
Yes.
He came up with just the Tang bomb.
Yeah.
And it launched from there. So what is the first year, like you can timestamp the Tang bomb? Like you inherited it when you came on board. So how long would that have been?
I'm going to say that goes back probably to 2001 at least. That was the first time I started working at the Deadwood when I was 21.
Yep.
I was working actually at Mumm's, which is no longer with us, and that was a townie bar, and I kind of wanted to see what downtown was like. I didn't want to do like the bigger, crazier, wilder places such as like the old Field House or others when it first opened up.
Yeah.
I mean, these things are big. They're zoos. It's a lot going on. I like more of the townie bar, more of the dive bar feel, where you get a little bit more time to spend with a customer. I don't necessarily like to use the word intimacy, but I get to sit and talk with people.
Sure.
I know people's names. I'm
folks.
not saying that people at other bars don't. It's just probably a little less common that you know that many names versus, say, working at Dublin, Deadwood, maybe even Joe's place.
And that has to be the fun of bar ownership, is the human experience, getting to know people,
it's
hear people's
interesting.
stories.
It is totally an interesting gig to watch, all walks of life, different, times of the year. People during football season are different than early spring.
Right.
Has anyone in Iowa City copied the Tang bomb? Have you seen it anywhere else in this area?
I haven't. It wouldn't be hard to do it.
No, I was wondering if anyone's even approached you or not. We've seen it in Des Moines, which I assume is someone that was a University of Iowa graduate that copied it.
The High Life Lounge has 4 versions of it, and they don't all use Tang. They use different flavored vodkas, which I know is not Jägermeister.
Right. Yeah,
so just out of logistical standpoint, where do you get your Tang from? I know that sounds silly, but does somebody go out to the store and get it, or
just from the grocery store? Yeah, Sally, one of my managers. I have 2 managers here, Carlos and Sally, and they each play different roles here. Sally definitely supplies the bar with a lot of the going to the stores.
Right.
She cooks for us a lot. This weekend, one of our traditions is that during the Minnesota game, Sally always cooks up pulled pork sandwiches in honor of Floyd of Rosedale.
Right. That's
so
fantastic.
we always
That's
eat
awesome.
the pigs.
Right.
And that's I think that's one of the few that we say that's tradition. Minnesota gets the pig every time.
Right.
Sometimes it's chili, sometimes it's loose meat sandwiches, sometimes it's walking tacos. But she always stocks the bar with everything from Tang to food.
Right.
Is that literally the only time you do food is for home football games?
It's always free. Every time we do food, it's free.
Oh,
wow.
Okay.
And I shouldn't say it's the only time we've done chili dogs for Cubs home openers or season openers. Try to do it if it's on TV at Wrigley. That's our favorite for Thanksgiving and Christmas years past. Well, those are sign-up days only, so we're only open if people are in town that want to work it. If we are open for those holidays, we try to do like a dinner for those that don't have somewhere to go.
That's fantastic.
And that again, it's free. It usually goes fast, but
it's better. It is what it is. Yeah, for sure.
So, and again, Sally handles all of that.
And Sally was just saying she's been here 25 years.
25 years, yeah.
Wow.
Well, we've talked about
the stories she could tell too, right?
She's been a part of most of those stories, I'm sure.
Yeah.
That's such essential dive bar is having, if you do food, it's something like the crock pot situation, that small town dive bar. And the fact you don't charge for it's phenomenal.
Yeah. I mean, people are drinking. You make your money back by earning the respect of the community that's like, hey, they went out and they did this for us. We had Ragbri come through not too long ago, and we got in trouble with the alcoholic beverage division for giving away free hot dogs because we also had smoking on the patio. And if you have food, you're not allowed to have smoking on the patio. I think that's a silly loophole, whatever. We stopped giving away the hot dogs and continued to let people smoke on the patio. And
you didn't just move the smoking inside?
No. It's been a hot minute since. Yeah, that
took you like 15 years to get the smoke out.
And that was, I was here that last night. That was bad. That was a smoky night.
What year was that?
06, 07, somewhere in there.
I remember.
But I mean, I'll remember the night. Like I think back then I was a pack-a-day smoker, and I remember walking outside and be like, I just need some fresh air. Right. It's rough in there. And I think to this day, I think a lot of the younger college kids still are leery of this place because it's still known as the smokers bar. There's still legends. People come up to us and be like, you can smoke in here, right? No, you can't.
Right.
But if you're smoking on the patio and the front door's open, it's going to waft in here, which that's
Right.
probably why it always smells a little bit like smoke in here.
Oh, for sure.
Which I think is kind of the appeal. I mean, it's been partied in a lot. It's not going to smell like your parents' house.
Yeah, it's a well-broken establishment.
That's a fact.
You even sell cigarettes behind the bar.
I do, yes.
Which is not something you see everywhere.
That was something we talked about like not too long ago. Do they still sell cigarettes? Because we were, every once in a while, I'll kid and they'll say, "What's your son going to do when he graduates high school?" And I say, "Well, he's enrolled in a cigarette machine repair program down in southern Missouri." And then we got talking about it. Like, I guess I didn't realize you don't have to have anything special to sell cigarettes.
You buy a license. It's a couple $100, I think. That last time I checked, I think it was maybe $300 on that. And it's not a great source of revenue so much as it is more of a convenience.
Right.
If you're out, you don't have to leave.
Right.
We really don't make a lot of money on those. I think I'm still I think I'm cheaper than a lot of convenience stores at this point.
My guess is you probably get some walkthrough people that like stop and get a pack and have a beer before they go.
I usually know I'm really behind when someone walks in and orders a carton. I'm like, time to raise the price of cigarettes. Because if it's cheaper to get a carton here, then to raise those prices. But we've got, those are actually antique racks that I found long ago in an antique store. But then I bought those up and I just thought they were neat. But they used to have 3 slots for non-filtered cigarettes. It had a little backstop and it made it a little shorter than the other.
In my previous life, I spent some time in law enforcement, and you'll know this all too well, but once or twice a year, we'd have to take juveniles out into establishments to try to buy cigarettes and alcohol, right?
Yeah.
So I got tasked with that assignment one time, took this underage kid around, went to a dive bar in Cedar Rapids, and of course they sold the kid the pack of cigarettes, so we have to go outside, and I got to go back in and give him a ticket. And I felt bad enough about it, and I realized when I got out to the car to get the ticket book to go back in that I had left my police badge hanging around my neck the whole time. I hadn't like tucked it in my shirt, and I couldn't decide if I felt worse or not sorry for the bartender, because they literally stood there and sold a pack of cigarettes to a teenager with me standing there with my Cedar Rapids police badge hanging around my neck. But I kind of respected the effort. Anyway,
you were going to telegraph, don't sell.
I know, right? I tried to give you a major hint.
Wait, let me go out and get my hat.
Some stings will come in, and you can tell, the kid doesn't want to do it or whatever. Like,
Oh,
it was
100%.
years ago, someone came in, and he just had this smile about him. And
Yeah.
I think it was Sally, and she said, well, are you, and I can't remember if it was 18 or now 21, how long ago it was, but,
Yeah.
she says, are you 18? And he's like, nope.
Yeah.
And just like, and
Glad
out
to
the
be
door
asked.
he went.
Yeah,
He's like,
and-
he didn't really want to get anybody in trouble either,
Yeah.
I don't think. So.
And they are absolutely coached to do that. So there's not an attempt to trick, but anyway,
yeah.
behind the scenes. But
You brought up earlier that this was a dive bar. What do you think constitutes a dive bar?
Boy, I don't know if that's. Well, first off, I think a lot of dive bars get labeled dive bar because they've just been around a long time and they look
Right.
run down. But it's like the Deadwood. I mean, we've got carpet here. This is the 4th or 5th set of carpet since I've been here, and so it gets changed out. But you see
Right.
how quickly it gets destroyed. I think dive bars have to have a little bit of a neighborhood quality, more so than your nightclubs and your
Right.
sports bars. I don't think it has to appeal to any one thing. It doesn't have to be like an Irish bar or anything of that nature, but it has to be a bar where there is almost a fluidity between the regulars and the workers, where people tend to know a little bit more. Again, back to that more intimate thing. Like, I might know what you do for a living, or I might know your kid's name, or that your kid's in soccer, or what sport, to what level, or that your wife works at the hospital and, maybe she's not a drinker. I don't know. I know that you get off work at 4 and you do 2 beers before you go home and mow the lawn in the summertime. These kind of ritualistic things that when a bartender knows that about you, you're a regular. And that's a fact.
Right.
And once you get to that point and you kind of have that rapport, Cheers on TV was a nice place. I'd still call it a dive bar. Everybody
Right.
there knew each other.
Yeah.
It's still a nice dive bar, but it
Right.
was still, people went there because that was their neighborhood place and everybody knew them. And that, to me, I don't like to say that's the only thing, but I think it's a major component that goes unsaid, and that I think is more so than the look of it just being run down and,
That's a really good
tired. Because if you party in any house, take any house that you've ever lived in, party in it for 50 years every single night. Tell me it's not going to look run down and
Right.
tired.
Right. Absolutely.
I mean, turn the lights up in any one of these bars, they all look the same.
Right.
You see everything that needs to be fixed. Sometimes you see a thing on the wall and you wonder, that's an interesting decoration. It could just be covering a hole.
Right. Right.
I know for certain there
True
are certain
dive bar
bars.
fashion.
There are certain bars in this town that have fixtures like on the ceiling that are covering holes.
Right.
Just don't really care about it. They're just covering
Well,
damage.
you mentioned one thing, and I think one of the common denominators when we'd ask people about what they think is a dive bar, the staff and the enduring nature of the staff and the personal connection the staff has with patrons. How big a staff do you have here? Do you have, I know you have some senior people.
It's small, including myself and like our cleaning person who doesn't actually tend bar but will fill in and do other things like help serve food with Sally or whatever. I would say on average anywhere between 13 and 16 people, and even then we try to keep it a lower staff, and we ask more of our people so that the pay and the tip out is better. I mean, if I overstaff every home football game, there's no doubt that this place could turn big dollars. But if each person then is walking out here with just $75 in tips, hardly seems worth it to work them that hard.
Yeah, that's a
who's
good
going to
point.
come back?
Really good point.
There's a lot of bartenders in this bar that are in this city that get the hustle to the tip ratio. I mean, there's always what your pay is, and a lot of these bars, sometimes the pay is not that great.
Yeah, for sure.
But when you're a bartender and you live off that tip, the big question is, was it worth it? Did you made $300? Okay, was it easy, or did you have to bust your butt for it?
Yeah.
And everybody loves the quick easy 100. That's fun shift.
Yep.
The Saturday against Ohio State, and I made 200. Probably sucked.
Yeah, for sure.
Probably was a rough day. So.
What's it like when somebody that has worked for you in the past comes back? Do they come back a conquering hero, or?
Whoa, the comeback tours are always our favorite. Everybody comes back thinking that, where they left off is where they're going to jump back in, and that's hardly ever the same.
Right.
It's always good to see, Deadwoodians come home. We do like to keep track of where they go and
Deadwoodians?
Love that.
Deadwoodians,
That's
yeah.
awesome.
I like to pick on my little sister right now. She actually worked here at a point when I didn't work here, and she left here, and she just won an Emmy. I'm totally going to brag right now. Shout
fantastic.
out. She won an Emmy.
That's
for public
braggable for sure.
For public broadcasts out in Des Moines.
Very cool.
There's a couple of Deadwoodians we have out. It's California. One of them was in a movie. It's a terrible movie, but he made it.
Right,
He's in
yeah.
a movie.
Yeah.
I think it was called
Went after
Sex
something, got
Pot.
it.
It was terrible.
Right.
There's the world famous Mitch that used to work here, did all our pub quiz stuff. He's still in pursuit of being on game shows. He's made a couple of them.
That's
So
awesome.
watching where they
Yeah.
go,
Cool.
what they're doing. Laura Langdon that used to work here owns her own art gallery way up northern Minnesota, and they just tasked her with doing these. She's going to be doing this thing for about a bunch of small towns in Minnesota, and just these photographs of taking like things that are just disappearing. We're losing these towns.
Yeah.
Very cool.
She was a delightfully insane bartender that I hired here the first time I worked here, and probably one of the craziest and fastest bartenders that Deadwood has ever seen. I mean, she
That's
was.
cool.
I will say, you guys got robbed not meeting Laura. Laura and Sally duct taped themselves together one time, and bartended, known as the two-headed wench. And just to put that in perspective, you know how hard it is to work taped to somebody else and
That's
not
phenomenal.
trip and fall.
Yeah.
Right.
But they did the entire bar for almost an hour. Duct taped together, and they just were in step with each other. And that, again, that's pretty impressive to be
Oh,
that
it
in
is.
tune with your coworker.
Right.
Because
Be
you
able-
don't see like a lot of Siamese twins that
No.
bartend
No.
effectively.
No.
So that's quite a challenge.
Never.
I've seen
That's
a couple that do like clown rodeo, but never bartend. So we also talked a little bit about the fact that you have an association with Mums, which is possibly one of the greatest dive bars, not just in the history of Iowa City, but maybe the history of the Midwest. So what's your attachment to that?
So my father owned that bar, and I agree with you. I know I'm obviously biased, but I mean, for when it comes to dive bars, I mean, that place, was extra next level, crazy, weird, townies doing stuff that I could tell stories and people just don't believe. I mean, there were guys that, it was the old bar down by the river, and people would like drive their boats up from
Right.
hills and drink, and they'd park underneath the bridge,
Right.
and they'd drink, and then they would just float home.
Right.
That was normal. That was okay.
Yeah.
There were
And
guys,
for our listeners, these are not going to be like cobalts. These are John boats.
yeah,
Yeah, these are fishing.
Yeah,
Put them
yeah.
on the rocks.
Yeah, no,
come up, drink,
this is
and
kind of thing that if it
fire
got
up the
stuck in a
enemy.
branch, you probably just woke up in the bushes. And,
Right.
not a nice boat by any means.
It was not unusual to see somebody climbing up the banks to go to Mums after they've tied up for a little bit.
Yeah, before one of the floods, I think the flood of '93 actually took there was stairs that went down.
Oh, really?
There was
Yeah.
actually wooden stairs that went down that embankment, and you could we used to have a fishing contest. It was called the Carpathon. It was to see who could catch the
fabulous.
biggest, ugliest, good for nothing, stinky fish out of the river,
Right.
and they called it "Where's." They always put up a sign that said "Where's Big Daddy," and that was who could win, who could find the biggest, ugliest carp.
Right.
That's
and
awesome.
So you don't eat carp on Christmas.
no, I don't need anything out of the river, but plain and simple.
Everything's full circle. in this thing, right?
Yes, that was a big thing. And then my dad attempted to beautify that embankment. He poured a bunch of sand down there, and he attempted to make Mums' nude beach.
Right.
And the flood of '93 took all that sand and just wiped it
man.
clean out of there. But
Right.
it was pretty funny for about a month before that flooded and it was gone.
Oh, I can imagine.
When did Mums go down?
I want to say that was 05, 06. I think my
Okay.
favorite closing story of Mums was the tornado that went through downtown Iowa City KCJJ was giving damage reports as I was driving down Riverside Drive, and kind of like as I drove by things, they were kind of like, oh, professional love for this and Dairy Queen that, and there was this pause, and he goes, and Mums is still standing. I about wrecked my car. I was like, that's sorry, because I mean, it was either the amount of nicotine that just adhered all those boards together, or there were just enough holes in that building that the wind just went right through it.
Right, there was no pressure difference. It was just
well, God had his priorities.
And
there's only so much you can do at St. Patrick's Church. We got to save Mums.
Before it was Mums, it was a place called the Waterfront, and then before that, it was a place called Irene's. And
that's way back machine.
When I was in the 60s, I think it was called, a place called Irene's, and or the 50s, 60s, and there was a regular that used to come into my dad's bar, and he was an old hippie. He would talk about how he had a ponytail down to his butt. And I said, well, when was your first time you ever drank here? He goes, oh, it was when Irene's. He goes, I walked in, and this toothless old such and such slapped down a nickel-plated 45 and said, we don't serve any long hairs here. And I said, well, what'd you do? He goes, well, I went and got a haircut, and I came back. I was going to drink here. And he'd been drinking there ever since.
That's great.
Until Mom's closed, and then I don't know where he went. But
when we spoke with Jeremy, he said that there was a crack right down the middle of the floor, and whenever you talk to anybody, that's exactly one of the things that they remember most about it. You kind of have to mind the crack, especially after you had a couple.
Yeah, like it was definitely a foundation crack. I think Mums was built on top of an old Iowa City landfill, and I think that's why the property is still for sale to this day. Like there are no takers on that old plot of landfill with its proximity to the water. That being said, it was like downhill to the men's room.
Yeah,
and
that's what Jeremy was saying.
It was so Jeremy's wife worked at Mom's. My dad absolutely adored Dawn, and her little sister Tara. She ended up working there as well, and they were both amazing bartenders. But I got to know Jeremy through the Ducks rugby team. The Ducks loved Mom's because it was the closest bar to the football stadium, which also meant it was the closest bar to the Magic Bus.
Yep.
So whenever the Magic Bus got done, they would all leave there and they'd all go down to Mom's, and we'd continue the after-hour party, as it were, down there, and then people kind of dispersed from there, went downtown or dinners or whatever.
Right.
But back when the Magic Bus was a big thing, that was hugely incorporated with the Ducks and Mums.
Well, one of my fondest memories was after a game. We rolled up there, and there was maybe 75 Harley Davidsons parked out there, and my buddy was like, I don't know if we want to go in there. Have you been in here before? I was like, yeah, I've been in here. I don't think there's going to be any problem. And the Magic Bus was also there, which when we went in there, it was packed, absolutely packed, and it was nothing but young college dudes and Harley riders, and it was the best night of our life.
It was definitely not what most people would experience. I think one of my favorite people not understanding Mums was before I met my wife, I went on a date with a sorority girl, and of course her girlfriends decided to come with and kind of find out who I was, and this. And we went to G.A. Malone's, which is now Basta. And we were sitting there, and they said, well, where do you work? And I said, well, I work at Mums. And the one girl says, well, that's that huge biker bar. And I said, well, there's a lot of motorcycle riders, but I wouldn't call them bikers. There's not like, there's no Hells Angels or
it's not a clubhouse.
Clubs, but there's a lot of guys that ride motorcycles, and I would say it's Harley heavy, but there's a lot of different bikes.
Right.
And the second girl says, well, no, that's that huge lesbian bar. And I said, well, we sponsor the girls rugby team and a tennis team, and right. I know this is legit.
There, but it's not the lesbian bar.
Right. I mean, at any given time there might be quite a few, but it's not a lesbian bar.
Right.
And this is an actual date. And the third girl goes, that's where that guy got stabbed. And I'm like, and he lived, and that was the end of the date. That was pretty much it.
Yeah, people do go there to get stabbed, but
it was my dad was on. I don't remember exactly what had happened, but a guy had been stabbed there. But what I do remember of that is, you've ever seen The Naked Gun?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Okay, so this guy had been stabbed, and then we come down the next morning. We'd just gotten back from vacation. He lived, but I don't know what it was about. It was some bar fight or whatever. But the entire parking lot was chalk outlines like The Naked Gun. Like there was like a girl with big boobs and a stick figure and a blind guy with a dog. Like this is an entire group of adults that decided to stop drinking, take chalk out into the parking lot.
That's amazing.
And the entire parking lot was just chalk outlines everywhere.
Well, if you can't have a little fun at a good stabbing, what can you do, right?
poor guy that got stabbed. I don't know whatever. I don't know his name. I was a kid. That was a long time ago. But yeah, there was no second date with that young lady. That date was over right then and there.
Probably wasn't meant to be.
I don't think so.
Like if she can't.
Now, my wife came storming into Mum's because I stood her up on a date. She came in. I was like, this girl's tough.
Right.
She's a keeper.
She's a keeper.
That's awesome. Well, I said something in the opening about how loving this place because it's endured. And classic places inevitably sometimes come and go like Mum's. You're the curator of the Deadwood now. Do you feel a sense of like almost community obligation to keep this going in its initial spirit and preserve something that...
Very much so. And I get paralyzed with fear about where is the line in the sand about updating and losing, like, you changed the bar, man.
Yeah.
Like, just recently... one of the fun ones was we had Harper and Will come in, and
Will
fast forward kind of the end of that
Harper
conversation.
Steele, Will Ferrell.
Yes,
They're friends.
and kind of fast forward to the end of that story. I was leaving, and Will Ferrell had said to me that he'd owned a bar out in California. That he was a huge USC fan, and he said he'd sold it to a guy, and the guy changed everything and really ruined the bar. And that kind of just resonated with, like, well, that's why I'm terrified of changing anything about this place. Like, if I get new carpet, it's going to be red carpet. That's going to happen. Yeah. If I redo the flooring, it's going to be red carpet.
If you ever
The
needed
bathrooms will always have graffiti in them.
I was going to say, if you need a reality check, you painted the bathrooms a fresh coat recently, and why don't you tell us the reaction?
That is always what happens. Every time, there's always a mixed review. There's always people that are mad that we got rid of stuff, and then there's always people that are quick to be like, give me the Sharpie, I got to run in and do whatever. Now, I will say, of the men's room this time, there was a piece of artwork, let's call it that, Jabbercock. I believe I'm allowed. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that on your show.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
And it was Jabberjaw, a beloved childhood cartoon character with a massive, massive penis. Right. And people were mad that got painted over. And then in the women's bathroom was the Deadwood mermaid. And that was actually a Deadwood employee that painted that. She's, I believe, up in Cedar Rapids tattooing. And I'm half tempted to invite her. Because of that one, I'm half tempted to invite her back to see if she'll redraw.
Right.
Because I think we did get a little bit of angry feedback on that. But again, to all those people, that is not the first bathroom mural to be painted over. That's one of several men's and women's murals that have been...
If you go to the bathroom today, it says really large on one wall, "R.I.P Jabbercock."
Yeah. Right. Yeah. If you need a reference, Brad actually has the Deadwood mermaid tattooed on his chest. If you want to replicate that, if you want to get a stencil,
I will have you come pose, not maybe nude, but you know.
Oh, that's the way. That's how I got it.
Yeah, waist up.
There's no other way to get a tattoo than totally naked, right, Brad?
Yeah.
He's only got one fee online for his service, and that's nude pose.
Posing nude for the artist of the day. I would say, it's not the first time someone's been naked in here. It's not uncommon to see, the occasional. I think that's another part of a townie bar is there's a level of humor that is just someone mooning, someone.
The question
streaking.
wouldn't be if it's the first time someone's. What's the last time someone was naked here? And it's 11 o'clock at the.
The last time we had nudity in here, I'd have to check the log book. But usually that gets logged, depending on what's going on while naked, is whether or not it becomes offensive. Like, if someone's having sex in here, that's probably going to get you kicked out. But has someone, like, streak through here or just walk through, like, with their butt hanging out, that's just funny. Yeah. That's just,
Right.
And again, we always want to, if someone were offended, we would clean it up quickly.
Yes.
We're not here to be offensive. But, again, long ago, there are many bars where bartenders have done aprons only or something of that nature. Yeah. And it's hilarious. It's not normal. You kind of just go, I don't know.
But the Ragbri committee's not shutting you down.
Jeremy and I did an aprons only one night back at Mum's, and I watched that man open a bottle of High Life with his butt cheeks.
Right.
And I asked him how bad that hurt, and I believe his response was more than I thought it would.
Right. Right.
But he finished the job.
Oh, and he drank it too.
Right.
He drank that.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. Why would you not?
And there were some young ladies that they probably talk about him as a bartender to this day. And I remember that, knowing that kind of stuff is what breaks you as a bartender. Why do you remember me? Like, we just had Penn State in here. We hadn't had Penn State here in 4 years. There were guys who came in who they know my name. I don't know their names.
Right.
I don't remember them.
Right.
But I must have made one hell of an impression on them at least 4 years or more ago. When I go to Madison or to Dubuque or wherever I may be going drinking, there are bartenders I go looking for because they're charismatic, they're charming, they're more than just a sud jockey. Don't just bring me the drink because coin-operated machine can replace us real easily.
Yeah.
But what brings you to the table as a bartender usually is that charisma, that a little bit of flair, dare I say, that you just,
A place like this and people like this and a bartender can bring you back to a certain point in your life too. Like when you were 20s and you didn't have to worry about picking a child up from soccer and you were...
Remember what fun was?
Right. Right.
Remember what fun was? Yeah.
So it really, you meeting that person or going back and like, even if you stumble across the person, like, oh man, I didn't know you're bartending here now. It doesn't have to necessarily be the walls. It's the people that make a place.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And, to that note, I mean, one of the things I would like to do, back to that logbook, is I would love to have a ghostwriter from, say, the University of Iowa Writers Workshop take and compile all of our logbooks, which is just a book that can, if something happened, we log it, who, what, when, where, why. To quote my old boss, Jim Bell, he would do the old dragnet, just the facts, ma'am.
Right.
And I would like to write a Dick and Jane story and put these people in there as said. Every time it's a guy, it's this fictitious guy, and every time it's a girl, it's this fictitious girl. But I'd like to keep all the employees' names the same, so they could all capture some royalties out of it, because they were all a part of these stories. Which, and again, they're all true. They're all just going to have to.
The logbook is obviously mythical legend. Is there one single book, or do you have multiple?
Multiple.
And what is it? A 3-ring binder?
Usually it's just it's a 3-ring binder. We put a little spiral notebook in there, and each day you write the date. And if the most popular thing you'll see in there is NTR, nothing to report.
Okay, so there's it's an entry for every day.
It's a daily entry. Okay,
every day.
Okay.
I like every single day, well back into the 80s.
Oh wow, that would be great.
I have many log books that I look back and I look for an employee's first shift.
That's kind of cool.
There's a legendary bartender that I got the privilege of working with. His name is Ben Gelson, also known as Caesar or Gumby, and he now bartends up in Minneapolis at a very high-end bar. But I will never forget his first log book. He just drew a picture of beer and a pair of boobs and an equal sign, and it said in his smiley face. Right. And I thought for sure he would have gotten fired for that, but Jim must not have read the logbook that day. It was totally like okay with. He's like, yeah, beer and boobs make me smile too. Right. So but I mean, we always show new employees what's a good log entry and what's a bad log entry. Mr. Gelson's would have been a bad log entry, but a good log entry is like, okay, 9 o'clock, this guy walks in, here's what happened. And this is what we did, and here's who you should see and look at the camera at this time. Though that's a good log entry. That doesn't always happen.
I know you've had some feedback before. I think we were privileged enough to see a couple entries in the logbook one day when we were in here early in the morning after breakfast, and I think it was a regular that got kicked out or something and wrote you a pretty extensive complaint letter.
Yes, he unfortunately has since passed away.
Oh.
That being said, he was very mad at Sally. He got kicked out, and then he wrote us a letter, in which of course we saved because it's part of the logbook. It's part of that story. And he was very upset with Sally, and said
he would never come back, but then didn't he end up coming back?
No, he'd been in and out of this place several times, but no, this time he, unfortunately, and I don't mean to chuckle at that, he literally passed away not too shortly after that. Okay. And
So the paneling, I think, is one of the things. If you were to do away with the paneling, I don't know if it'd be the Deadwood anymore.
I agree. And the thing that sucks is I've always wondered if there's like some really gorgeous old brick under here that I could then incorporate brick and Deadwood.
Right.
I don't know if it's worth the risk again, because I don't want to change it. Yeah. I really am afraid. Right now I view my role as kind of just the caretaker. I don't even think the Deadwood has kind of become its own self-sustaining thing. It's its own living entity at this point, where it's our regulars that make up this place.
You're like the steward of
I just get the beer on the shelves and I put the money in the bank and I make sure the lights are on. Beyond that, I don't do. Sally's more heart and soul of this place. Carlos knows every young college kid, after night. I don't know any of these people anymore. Like that was my role back then when I was the manager, and I've kind of evolved out of it, and now there's someone else that's doing a bang up job of it, and I'm proud as hell of both of them because this is a community. I mean, it takes a village to run this thing sometimes, and there's people who love it, and there are people who just it's not for them, and those who love it will fight fiercely for it, and they've defended it like crazy.
So what year was the Deadwood established? Is it
the Deadwood opened in the summer or spring of 1969. It moved to this location, I believe Sally said, in 1978. At one point in between there, it was in what was called urban renewal, and I believe it was actually in a trailer. So technically, I would say this is the third location of the Deadwood, but I don't think it's not going to move anytime soon.
Right.
Like the old mill had been in 4 locations, maybe even 5.
Oh, really?
It's interesting when we talk about dive bars in Iowa City. We did a little bit of history about it, and the order of which people applied for licenses after Prohibition was lifted, and there seems to be some discrepancy with a couple of the people, like who actually moved. Does that impact their license or not? They moved out of the walls that they were in, but it does seem to be an interesting discrepancy with some bar owners.
Liquor licenses are really interesting. Like you're not allowed. So like on the Deadwood patio, if we were to ever open up the upstairs of this building to anything, you could technically never leave our liquor license establishment and go into that. You'd still be above these 4 walls, but it only applies to this main floor, not the downstairs, not the basement, not the upstairs. And even though there's access to another room or building, you cannot travel with that beverage from one place to another.
Okay.
Now that sounds weird. Why would I bring that up? I believe there are bars in this town that, not many, but there are 1 or 2 that they have conjoined areas where they could travel back and forth, and you are not allowed to do that, even if you own both of them.
So do you have to have like 2 liquor licenses? Like if
I owned a thing upstairs, I would probably have to have another liquor license, and I don't know if I'd be allowed to use shared patio or not, because you'd have alcohol from different licenses going into different locations. I would like to pick on Studio and Alley Cat. They're in the same basic building. They share a stairwell, but I believe during business hours that they are chained up, and you're not allowed to go. Could technically get from one to the other.
I was just in Reunion for a fundraiser the other day, and I think the Reunion has a downstairs, but they also have kind of like an upstairs that has a bar. I don't know if that's how that's handled, but they did have somebody at the top of the stairs that was kind of the gatekeeper.
Right. So I don't know. I don't know all the ins and outs of their setup, but I mean, I think that was the original field house was in that location, and that was 3 stories, and there was a lot of places you could go with a drink in that place. And
well, we talked a lot about institutional things here inside the Deadwood. One we haven't mentioned is the dolphin. Did you inherit the dolphin? Story behind
that is my dolphin.
Okay. So did it come with you?
No, I mean it was Jim. It's always been here. The Deadwood is now my dolphin. I don't know much about the dolphin other than I would say my favorite story about the dolphin is at one point in time a group of Deadwood regulars thought it would be a good idea to take it down into the Ped Mall when there was the fountain down there. The bigger fountain.
Yeah.
And they were promptly told by ICPD to turn around and return the dolphin back to the bar and not take it swimming.
Yeah, but it's a logical thing, I would think.
People get a little weirded out. Every now and then we take it down and we change out a different decoration. It is a very old and very fragile dolphin.
Right.
And to be clear, I do joke around about it. No, it's not real. It never was real. My favorite joke is to say that, yes, it used to be, but now it's not.
Nice.
No, it's not even tagged. It's just plaster.
Does the dolphin have a name amongst the Deadwoodians?
I don't think so.
No, it hasn't.
I don't think
named.
anybody's ever named it. To my knowledge, I can't think of it.
Okay, it's just the dolphin.
I think it's best that way.
The last time we were hanging it, there's an employee, Paige, and I. We were both pretty hungover, and the chain actually broke. And if you remember that scene at the end of Dirty Dancing, it was me and the porpoise like that, and I just been like, I caught it, but oh my god! And we didn't break it, we didn't drop it, but that was. I mean, Paige is sitting up there laughing at me, and I'm just like, oh, for the love of God, don't drop this damn dolphin. They'll kill me. So,
So the Dolphin is probably the most famous visitor of the bar. Who else? You talked about Harper Steele, who's a writer for Saturday Night Live, and Will Ferrell. Has there been anybody else famous in here?
Yeah, I can't remember his name. He was in the episode Deadwood series on HBO.
Oh, sure.
I want to say he played. Was he the guy who played Cuddy? God, I can't remember. Anyways, he came down here. He was in Cedar Rapids actually for a different film. They were talking about like a baseball or softball film. Anyways, but he'd heard there was a bar called Deadwood, so he's like, I got to go down there.
Right.
And he came down, not in costume, but in character, and he called everybody a cocksucker, signed autographs.
Oh,
and then,
yeah.
and,
You guys,
I
you guys
wasn't
British,
here that
yeah.
night. He left a I have it at home somewhere. It's an autograph, said, Ben, where the fuck are you, cocksucker? And that was that.
So an interesting footnote to that. He played a tavern owner in the show Deadwood, and his last name was Swearingen, and the actual guy in Deadwood that owned that hotel in real life, the Swearingen, was from Oskaloosa, Iowa.
That's crazy.
Okay.
There was like 4 or 5 people from Oskaloosa that were kind of the power brokers of Deadwood back then. But that's
cool.
kind of a neat connection. So he was a saloon owner in the movie, and he came down and wanted to visit the saloon. All right, so yeah, any Tom Arnold sightings? Are you the only bar that has not had Tom Arnold in it?
I think he was here a long time ago. Another funny one was Jake Leinenkugel came down
Oh,
here.
yeah.
When Leinenkugel was huge.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
bartended for a bit. One of our regulars was
That's a good pull, man.
So one of our regulars, a guy by the name of Sam, he tells the story how he said, so you're really Jake Leinenkugel? And he's like, yeah. And he's like, can I get you a Leinenkugel? He's like, Jake, I'd really like a Guinness.
Right.
And Jake Leinenkugel poured him a Guinness.
That's great.
He was like, he thought right then and there, he goes, that's pretty cool. Like, he could have raised a stank about it, but he didn't. He poured me what I wanted, and he even bought it for me. So
we actually talked about like what constitutes a beer of a dive bar, and we were really kind of hard focused on champagne beers, Miller High Life, and a couple
PBR,
others.
yeah.
But Leinenkugel has had a pretty storied past in dive bars, at least obviously from Northeast Iowa. But it's cool that you got Jake Leinenkugel.
Well, yeah, this was an official. We have a placard. This is or was. I don't know how that goes. I don't know if you still are once you are, but we are an official Liney Lodge, or we're an official Liney Lodge.
Right.
We have a placard from Jake and a paddle that's signed by him, and
That's pretty cool.
And now I don't think you don't see a lot of Leinenkugels anymore in the beer movement that is now. Like the everybody's opening up a new brewery. Everybody's got a new IPA or sour. But you said earlier, bartender has that ability to kind of take you back into a place, and I feel like the dive bar, the beer itself will do the same.
Right.
I mean, a High Life in here is, I think, different than a High Life at Summit.
Right.
And it's the same.
100%.
You know what I mean? It's the same
100%.
beer.
Right.
And I'm not, and by no means is that a shot at anybody.
Right. No, understandable.
But I think
Yeah,
that they would say the same about maybe a high-end
Absolutely.
cocktail at there versus here.
Sure.
You're not a lot of Aperol spritzes that are being done in the Deadwood.
Martinis.
What is the number one selling beer at the Deadwood?
PBR.
PBR is,
We
okay.
were at one point in time the number one PBR bar in the state of Iowa, and we have been in contention. I always forget what bar in Des Moines it is. It's not the High Life Lounge,
Right.
but there's another bar that I believe they actually made a mural about being the number one bar in Iowa, and the regional PBR guy had to tell them that they weren't, and I think they are now.
Right.
But we were the number one PBR bar in the state of Iowa for I think almost 5-6 years running straight.
And let it be known, you guys were PBR before tight jeans and edgy
Before
haircuts.
hipsters.
So
Yeah,
I remember there was a summer where they said PBR was going to be the retro beer of the summer, and they weren't wrong. But it didn't stop. It just kept
Right.
going, and to this, I think it's still going. I would say that's at least a decade later.
Right.
Where it's people like it now. They did that PBR coffee and PBR light, and I can't move any of that. But PBR regular on tap or in a bottle, I moved that quite a bit. I do.
PBR deodorant, Brad, give him a sniff.
I mean, I have a 99
Breath
pack
mint.
still in the basement of this place. I don't. I don't know if you guys ever saw it, but they PBR for a while sold a 99 can package thing, and it's like 8 feet long, and I have the cardboard to it. There's no beer in it anymore. That all got
since
drank. by who I don't know, but I kept it just because someday I might put it on the wall. Just
That'd be cool.
because it's just a huge long.
No, I tell you what would have been a
cardboard box.
cooler was if it was 99 bottles.
Yeah, it would have been a lot heavier too.
99 bottles of PBR on the wall.
Right.
Take one.
But
down.
yeah, we used to. Well, they used to do a beer mid with the cans, and they would stack. A group of guys would sit at the end of the bar, and they would drink cans of PBR during Cubs games, and they would stack all their empties. And I mean, several times it hit the little faux roof there, that little roof pitch. And I mean, that's for 5 guys, that's impressive.
Right.
Drinking. I mean, almost a little ashamed to admit that one, but yeah, that was impressive.
Right.
And they wouldn't allow anybody to throw a pop can in there, or even a light can. Like, no, these are just blues, and that's it.
So you got you said there were seasons to owning a bar. You talked about Cubs games there. We have Minnie coming into town this weekend. What's it like on a Friday knowing that there's a big Iowa game? What's your responsibilities?
biggest question you have usually is who came to town. So like Minnesota travels well, Wisconsin travels well, Penn State travels well. Our best day ever is Iowa versus Minnesota several years back, but that is the number one day of sales is against Minnesota. The second question you want to ask yourself is what time's the Saturday game, and how is that going to affect Friday night? 11 o'clock games tend to cannibalize your Friday night. 6 o'clock games on Saturday usually mean you're going to have a really, really sloppy Saturday and a really sloppy Friday night because no one has to go home early. No one has to go to bed.
Right.
This weekend we got a 2:30 game. That is probably, I think, one of my favorites. It's enough time for people to kind of come out. They'll stay out as long as they feel. At 6 o'clock, everybody feels like they need to stay out late because it's a late game. 2:30 game, you're like, I'm drunk. I'm going to go home because it's 5 o'clock and the games are 6 o'clock or whatever it may be. But I think it's a better game for the community and the bars to be held at 2:30 or 3. I know that there are plenty of bar owners that will probably disagree all day long with me and argue till we're blue in the face about the ins and outs between 11 o'clock and noon and 6 o'clock and whatever. 2:30, 3 o'clock games, they're my favorite. That's what we have this weekend. You know, the only thing I'm curious is, do we have enough? Do we have enough of everything? Will my ice machine be able to keep up? We can only pour so fast, and they're going to be here. Minnesota travels well, so I'm not worried about whether or not we'll be busy. I just question not will we. How long can we stay on top of it before we feel like we're grounding?
What did we talk about when I came in here? Like, what's on your tombstone?
How questions? How many? I just want to know how many. Every Friday, every Saturday, I come in here. I cut brand new lemons, brand new limes. I would love to know if 28 years of doing this, how many lemons and how many limes I've had cut in my life. It's a disturbing number, I'm sure.
Ben Mummey.
So last week was a 6 o'clock football game. Did your logbook on Saturday night mention anything about a guy 6'1"-ish, silver hair, walk and talk like Frankenstein, ordering Tang bombs?
No,
being asked
I believe Saturday night.
Politely leave.
I believe Saturday night.
Oh, okay.
Oh, good.
Saturday nights, people got kicked out of here for being too drunk, and some lady, while they're 3 deep at the bar, said, "This is why nobody comes here. This is why they call it Deadwood." And it's like, lady, get out so that someone can fill in your seat. But her friend was apparently she wasn't the one cut off. Her friend was so drunk they could stand, and any bartender would cut them off. They probably just came from a bar that they got cut off at because of that guy.
Yeah, you become legal issue.
You were responsible, and that's there's actually a term for the negligent bartenders, and you can lose your liquor license for that. But Friday night there was a log entry about a guy that got thrown out of here, and he threw patio chairs at my door guy Craig, and the cops were actually right there. They saw the whole thing, and he ended up getting a face full of mace, and back in the back of the car he went. But like most bars, and I think this bar is a relatively safe bar, but like most bars in downtown Iowa City, when you get that level of people and that level of intoxication, it does get risky. It always will. There's always a level of what if. And,
to your point, you usually have a really great mellow crowd that's having a good time, and Saturday night was a big win for the Hawks.
Yes.
We were part of the problem, not the solution, I'm afraid, but you had a great crowd, a great vibe, and it was very festive and fun.
Compared to the rest of the people in here, I mean, you didn't make the logbook, no blood, no foul.
Right.
Well, we still got a big opportunity ahead of us tomorrow.
That's not a goal. I thought what you were going for, Ray, when you're talking about seasonality, and I'm looking at the pumpkins here and the decor, Isn't Halloween kind of a big deal here at the Deadwood, Ben? And
Yes,
can you talk a little bit about that?
I would say Halloween in true form, like a lot of people will talk about, Halloween, how it has roots in letting people kind of become themselves.
Yeah.
Very much so. The Deadwood is a bar that if you've never experienced the Deadwood costume contest, or even just the levels of what we go to for the decorations we do, I mean, the staff, the bartenders here, they decorate this place. They take time out of their own day to come in here and put forth that effort to show people that they're in it to win it, And our costume contest is one that Sexy Nurse, store-bought costume, you're not going to win. I mean, as much as we love you for entering, that probably won't win. I think one of my favorite ones of all time was a lady that came here, and she was a claw machine. I mean, she was a prize claw machine with working lights and a little trap door. She could hand out little goodies and toys. And she was in there drinking a beer. She barely fit through the door.
Right.
There was a girl last year, can't remember, it was something about Midnight Summer's Rose or whatever, and her dress had to weigh 80 pounds. I mean, it was insane, the level of creativity and originality that goes into this. I mean, again, pair of bunny ears and a little cattail. Keep on walking, kid. That's not gonna do it. And this Wednesday actually we're gonna sit down as a group, and we're gonna probably have pizzas, and we're gonna carve pumpkins as a team.
It's fantastic.
And we're gonna sit here, and if we remember to save the damn seeds, Sally will roast them for us. But
Of course.
if we get too drunk and throw them away, well, then there's always next year.
That's right. So the claw machine, you've mentioned that. Is that probably the most iconic, or a couple other?
That's a good one. I mean, it really is.
Really
I think the staff usually tries to do something as a cohesive unit. The best staff one was the year we did the Muppets, and we did have a band, and they came as the Muppet band. Like Animal was the drummer.
I love it.
And my wife and I were the old guys, Waldorf and Stadler. We were just yelling and harassing people. And at one point in time, we got drunk enough that we were dancing. Totally forgot we're dressed up as two old men. And, we're college kids age at this point, and we're dancing like college kids do. And I will say that the funniest things I ever saw in my life is I took off that mask and just saw people staring at me like, oh my God, I'm so glad you're not really the old guy from the Muppets. Like that. But yeah, that was and Sally was Miss Piggy, and I mean, we had everybody here, and it was such a freaker's ball that night.
Then there's Terry.
And then Terry, probably one of the laziest entries in the world that, I mean, the biggest eruption I think I saw was, we had a face painter here that year, and all she did was make his hair blonde. That's all she did.
Okay.
And he had a robe and a child's axe, like the actual toy.
Yeah.
Stormbreaker.
A child's axe.
You know what I mean? Stormbreaker, he came as Fat Thor.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And he won because he had a robe on and a
He kept it going,
child's
too.
toy. Just stone.
Right.
You swing it would say things from the movie or whatever, right? Like those Hulk hands. Right? That's what he had. And he's wearing a robe, and he gets up on stage, and he's got the sunglasses on, and he opens a beer, and he slams it down, and this place went nuts. And the thing I like about it was Terry didn't come in with a bunch of his friends that day. He won that because he won the crowd.
Yeah.
Didn't matter. And sometimes the costume contest can be a bit of a popularity contest, which sucks. If you come in here with 20 friends, though, is what it is.
Because wasn't that year in particular, patron that was all done up like as Boba Fett or some very elaborate costume?
And he came in with friends. And that guy, I guarantee he'll be here this year again. That dude, he is in it to win every time. I don't think he even cares about winning anymore now that he has. It's for the glory of being on the stage. And I mean, people respect when you do, put in the work yourself.
So he put all the work in, and Terry comes in with the toy, gets the applause, and
whooped him
he just shrinks into the shrubs like Homer Simpson.
But we were saying when we met Terry across the street one day, I think it was a late morning at Mickey's, and I feel like it was a long ways from Halloween, and he was still rocking the Thor.
Yes.
It was golden, man. It was golden. One of my favorite group costumes was, and this is when you could still smoke in the bar, but we had all of the characters from the Super Nintendo Mario Kart. I think it was 12 of them. I can't remember exactly, but not exactly the greatest costumes, but they had little cardboard Mario Karts, and they had 3 balloons. And if you play Mario Kart and do the battle mode, you have 3 balloons, and the idea is to pop the balloons. Well, if you ran up to one of the people and you pop their balloon with your cigarette, they would spin around and throw out little chocolate gold coins.
Oh, that's
And when they won, and I mean seriously, it
That's
sucked
great.
because they all won like $7 each because it was like I think it was $100 at the time, so they didn't win
Great.
much.
Right.
But they said, "Oh, we got time to make it to another one," and they raced right on out of here.
Oh,
and I mean, they stayed in
that's
character the whole
fantastic.
time.
Right.
They were race cars,
Blowing
and
up
that's what they were
balloons the
doing.
entire way down.
You know, and restringing them.
Right.
Well, they had the helium ones. They were
Oh,
floating.
wow.
So once they were gone, you were out, man. But
Yep.
if
That's
your
great.
balloon popped, you had to spin around and throw out these little gold coins. And that's when I mean, again, you won over the crowd. Everybody went, "That's awesome!" Like that's what sold it. Like
Yeah.
that's.
Yeah. That's
I remember
nice
playing
touch.
Mario Kart. That's what it's about.
John, are you looking for a winning costume?
Nice.
I got an idea.
What do you got for me?
2 words: ceiling dolphin.
Okay.
I will say I don't
There you
think I've
go.
ever seen anybody come as the dolphin.
That
you
could
go.
be the winner, wouldn't
Ceiling
it?
dolphin is your winning
people would applause.
costume.
I like
I've
it.
had people come as I think people have come as Sally. I know people have come as me before.
Yeah, Brad's already claimed the Jabbercock costume,
Yeah.
so
Right.
I can't do that.
Jabbercock.
Exactly.
That's always hilarious, man. You know, and again, originality and uniqueness is what we look for. Don't be a sheep. Don't come in here because this is the hot button thing right now.
One other question I wanted to ask you, jumping back to dive bar status and stuff. You're a cash-only operation,
Yes.
always have been.
Yes.
Will you always will be? And what's the pressures as a business owner to do cars? I'm sure you get feedback from some customers or people that walk out and stuff.
Yeah.
How do you balance that?
Most of the people that are anti going over to the ATM and getting out cash are the people who don't have actually cash in that account. I am not a religious man. I'm not a teetotaler, but I do believe everybody pays to play, and if you ain't got cash in hand, go on home. That's all there is
Well
to
said.
it.
Yeah.
I don't believe you should drink. Yeah, drinking is a constitutional right at this point. I don't believe drinking on credit should be a constitutional right, especially considering how in debt most of the American people are right now. I mean, you're going to throw a 12-pack on that too? I mean, come on, man. Like,
Yeah.
maybe get your
Fair
budget
enough.
straight and come out. Everybody, you know, and again, for everybody that you see in here, everybody that's in here has cash in hand.
Right.
No one's drinking on credit. No one's putting themselves in further jeopardy or hock
Right.
for a high life.
And the place is packed.
And a lot of places that will accept that say, well, that's not their problem. You're right. That's not. It isn't your problem. It's not anybody's problem, but the person who's doing it to themselves, right? Well,
We can talk about it after the show, Ben, but one complaint I'd like to lodge, I'm happy to pay cash, but if we were in here last week and we brought in a bunch of international distributors, we wanted to show them, some of them had actually heard the podcast and wanted to experience what a dive bar was. They were curious. They wanted to try the Tang bomb, and I forgot, I knew it, but I forgot that I needed to have some cash on hand. So I hit the ATM multiple times, and every time I was given, I think it's about the same size as a postage stamp, your receipts.
yeah.
So if we could work on
A bigger
doing
one.
some,
A bigger one. That is a new ATM. I'm not really happy
no, not
with
the
that one.
ATM. This was from the. This was
Oh,
the
for my
actual.
register?
He's
Oh,
got
yeah,
he's got
no,
to
those
turn.
things are tiny.
He's
Those
got
are
to turn
real
that
tiny.
in for
Yeah.
expense.
Yeah, your
Come on, trust
bartender
me,
was
trust
on
me.
point.
Wait. Have you turned them in yet?
No.
Oh, you just enjoy when you do. 'Cause trust me, it's the gift that keeps going. Your account's going to be like, where were you?
Right.
You have a story. See, the story keeps going. It's
Right.
fantastic.
Right.
The
I
young
will.
man working bar that night was fantastic.
He was
And
great.
he wasn't
He was
expecting the crowd
fantastic.
we brought in. Added
Those
to the lore.
guys
Yeah, for sure.
overwhelmingly fell in love with this place.
Oh,
like the
yeah.
international
Appreciate
people, they were just
Yeah.
like, "This is awesome."
I appreciate you
Yeah.
guys bringing it in.
Australia, New Zealand the next day was a little bit regretting maybe the third Tang bomb they did.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, they seem to implicate us as like we forced them into something. I was
Yeah.
like, you wanted to come here.
Yeah.
No one. We
No
didn't
one-
pour the Tang bombs.
Buyer's remorse
Yes.
is something most people feel at any good establishment.
Yes,
the next
absolutely.
day.
Yeah.
Well said.
All right.
Yeah, I will say thank you guys again for
Yeah,
coming in.
no, we really
thank you guys for
appreciate it.
bringing those
Awesome.
people in because I love the exposure that, again, even internationally, like, I think the best part about the Deadwood is that anybody and everybody is welcome here until you've proven to us that you're not. And that's always in the eye of the beholder. You know, that's up to that customer.
Yep.
Everybody's guilty of having a bad day. You have 6 bad days in a row, probably not really for us, but you know.
Well, one of our international customers that was here, I'm actually meeting next week, and he promises me he's going to have Tang bombs to treat me with in his neck of the
So when
woods.
you
So we're
go
trying to
there,
spread
they're
the word
gonna-
internationally and spread the Tang bomb.
These guys
always
went-
with credit to the Deadwood, though.
These guys went over to the Czech Republic and they smuggled Tang into the Czech Republic.
I had told that story several times
Yeah.
since then, and everybody has the same question: why'd you put the Tang in a bag instead of just keeping it in the Tang container? It
Because
just seems
it was-
like
yeah,
it's
my
just-
wife did it.
It just seems like you guys would have run
Seems
into
dirtier.
more problems.
Seems filthier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it does. And
Well, if we could find the hard way,
I do love it for that.
If we could find the hard way to do it, we'd do the hard way.
You know, honestly, that's what makes a good story. Why'd you do it? I have no good answer for that. But let me tell you what happened because I did it.
Many times, Brad, I said, well,
That's
we're idiots.
fantastic.
That's why. We fucked up.
But
John, you got anything else?
I think good. No, I think we got.
Brad, you have anything else?
Thank you very much,
Yeah,
Ben,
we
for
really
joining
appreciate
us.
your time.
So,
Really
hey,
appreciate
wait,
you
we're
having
not
me.
done yet, man. We're
Brad's getting-
we've still got a speed round, a real quick speed round.
Okay.
So in front of you there is paper and pen.
Yes.
Oh yeah. Okay.
The speed round this week is Who's Buried at Deadwood? A rootin' tootin' speed round game where the legend of the Old West meets their final resting place, or maybe not. I'll name famous gunslingers, outlaws, or lawmen, and it's up to you to decide whether they're daisy side up at the Deadwood. So saddle up your partners, because it's time to play. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to give you a name, and you're going to decide if they are buried at Deadwood. Now, of course, I'm referring to Deadwood, South Dakota, but it's a play on the fine place we're visiting. So,
Okay.
Doc Holliday. Is he buried at Deadwood or not? Doc Holliday, is he buried at Deadwood? Wild Bill Hickok. Is Wild Bill Hickok buried at Deadwood?
Okay.
Sheriff Seth Bullock.
Okay.
Is Wyatt Earp buried at Deadwood? Calamity Jane. Is she buried at Deadwood? And last but not least, Bat Masterson. Is Bat Masterson buried at Deadwood? All right, pins down.
All right.
John, Doc Holliday,
Not buried at Deadwood.
Brad.
I went with no.
no.
All right. So yeah, Doc Holliday is buried in Glenwood Springs, Colorado, and there's actually a Doc Holliday trail in Linwood Cemetery that you have to hike up to his gravesite. Wild Bill Hickok?
Yes.
I said yes.
Yes.
Yeah, Wild Bill Hickok, a legendary frontierman and gunfighter and a showman. He was shot and killed while playing poker in Deadwood. His grave is a popular destination and remains unmoved at the Mount Moriah Cemetery. I've seen it myself with my own eyes.
If you go to the number 10 saloon in Deadwood, above the front door is the chair that he was allegedly sitting in while shot, and there is a bullet hole through that chair.
Yeah.
Wow.
Now, again,
Spectacular.
Allegedly.
Allegedly, yeah.
It's a great story, though.
So, okay, so Sheriff Seth Bullock, one of the greatest lawmen of the West. So, Ben, we'll start with you. Seth Bullock.
I'm going to say that's no.
I went yes on that.
I went yes as well.
Seth Bullock, also, I believe, an Iowan, was the first sheriff of Deadwood, and he was a prominent figure in the community, served as the Montana Territorial Senate, and he is also buried at the top of Mount Moriah Cemetery.
Let's go.
All right.
Strike one for me, gentlemen.
Next one, Wyatt Earp. Brad,
I went no.
Ben.
No.
That's a no.
Wyatt Earp, surprisingly, died in Los Angeles and is buried in San Francisco.
Okay.
Calamity Jane. John.
I said yes, and I was wondering if that's a real person.
Oh, Calamity Jane?
Calamity Jane.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Brad?
I was no on Jane.
Yes.
Yeah.
She was actually with...
All right. Wild Bill
Wild
Hickok.
Bill Hickok.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. There you go.
Yeah, she was a close associate and was considered a scout. So she knew the Western Territory well. She had a bit of a drinking problem, as they all did, but she
But not dairy products.
no, she did not like dairy those little beers. She did not like. So yeah, she is actually buried right next to Wild Bill.
Okay.
Well, there you have it. So I was right all along.
Last but not least, scout, lawman, professional gambler, and boxer Bat Matterson. Is he buried in Deadwood or not?
I said no, but I believe this one is one that people argue that because I don't. Isn't this one where people don't know where he's buried? I said no.
I said yes, but I just took a
I
wild
said no
guess.
as well.
So this is another one that blew me away. So Bat Masterson is buried in the Bronx, New York.
Okay.
Wow.
And so after he went and had a really super interesting life as a scout and a frontiersman and a showman, he went to New York and he made reference to a person in New York City, and a newspaper thought it was really kind of a colloquial reference, and he became a sports writer. So Bat
Wow.
Masterson ended his life in New York City as a sports writer. So
Crazy. All right.
all right. Hey, Ben, thanks for having us.
So
Man,
good.
You've
Yeah,
been
really
an absolute
appreciate it.
delight.
Thanks so
much.
You've been a great guest. Thanks for hosting us here.
Anytime.
Absolutely.
Anytime you guys
really
want to
appreciate
do
it.
another one of these, you holler. I'm in. I
Well,
enjoy myself immensely.
Okay.
We might, you might see us in here interviewing Sally at some point.
Exactly. I think
I
she could rock the mic.
I think you should. She knows more about. Like I've said, and I've said this plenty of times. I own the place, but she runs it.
Right.
And we all know Sally's in charge, and she is got more stories than me. But I was there for half of them.
Right. All right. There's a crate of lemons back there. Start cutting, partner.
I gotta go finish.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Ben. Appreciate it.